G'day ladies and gentlemen, ScottyD here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome to our first installment in our Warhammer 40,000 10th edition series called For the New Guy. G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network. As per usual, I'm ScottyD and we've got Jake with us today. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good mate. How you going?
Yeah, going well, thanks, going well, and welcome to our new series here on the ATWN from both of us, and we may even have more of the ATWN members joining us for this series called For the New Guy. Basically, the idea for the New Guy series, we're going to look at some of the most popular detachments for the different codexes that are available in Warhammer 40,000 10th edition currently. Now, this is a series we used to do for 9th edition. We go through the lore, pros and cons list and stuff, and I decided for 10th edition we're going to really simplify that down. But before we jump into today's video talking about the first detachment, I want to thank everyone who has been supporting us here on YouTube, where you've been liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all that fun stuff and commenting in our videos. Really appreciate your patronage, and I hope you're looking forward to all the content that we are creating in 2025 and all the tournament coverage that we're going to be bringing you, because we do have a lot of events this year that we're going to be covering as well. So without further ado, let's jump in to looking at the first attachment. Now, first few videos in the series, we're going to be looking at Space Marines, and of course the first one is the Gladius Task Force. It is the easiest one to pick up, I would say. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Gladius is the everyman's toolbox, really. You've got, everything for shooting, for melee, for speed, for things that don't move that fast. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, definitely agree. You've got a lot of synergy in here as well, and a lot of interplay based off the detachment rule as well, which we'll jump into in a second, which I really like in this detachment. It means that, you've got a lot of flexibility in the way that you can play this detachment. You can go, as you were saying, Jake, you could go shooting heavy if you want to with a little bit of melee. You could go melee heavy with a little bit of shooting. You can kind of meet in the middle. You got that, mobility and stuff in there as well, which is super important in the game. So let's jump into talking about the detachment rule for the Gladius Task Force. So the detachment rule is combat doctrines. Now, once per game, you can use one of the following combat doctrines to be applied across all Adeptus Astartes units in your army until the start of the next battle round. And you've got three to choose from here. You've got Devastator Doctrine, which is advance and shoot. You've got Tactical Doctrine, which is fall back, shoot and charge, and Assault Doctrine, which is advance and charge. So really, you've got a lot of movement happening with this detachment rule for two of the turns, basically. You could say three with Tactical, with fall back, shoot and charge, but it really depends on if you're already engaged in combat, whether you get that extra movement ability. However, advance and shoot and advance and charge can be really powerful when you're able to get those units that may be lacking in movement into a position. You're able to get them into that position. So yeah, really do like this, and you get to pick when you do it. We will get into a stratagem later on that will allow you to make better use of this outside of the 3 turns where you can pick these as well. But Jake, why don't you take us through the enhancements for the Gladius Task Force?
Before we do jump into that, one thing just worth mentioning, I'm not sure if we did there, sorry Scotty, but the fact that it can only be once per battle round. So with picking your doctrines, you just got to make sure that you're cycling only the 3 times, you're not going back. We will double back to that with one of the strats, but yeah, you just got to be careful that doesn't catch you out.
Yeah, it is only that once per game for each of the doctrines, so you can't go, okay, cool, I'm going to pick Tactical twice and only go do Devastator as the other one. No, you've got to pick one of them only once.
Exactly, yep. So you got to really navigate through your shooting and then your go phase with your advance and charge.
Yep.
So enhancements. First enhancement is Artifice Armor, which will give you a 2+ armor save and a 5+ feel no pain, which is great for your characters. The other enhancement is the Honor of a Hermit, which will give you +1 attack and strength to the bearer's melee weapons and +2 while in the Assault Doctrine. So really good on the go. The other is Adapter the Codex, which is a captain only. Bearer's unit can be put into Tactical Doctrine instead of any other active doctrine at the start of your command phase, which again is very handy between jumping between your doctrines. And last of all, we had the Fire Discipline, which is the Barrett's unit's ranged weapons, get sustained hits 1 and reroll advance rolls during the Dev Doctrine.
I think overall
some spicy stuff there.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Artificer armor is probably one I see the least taken. I think it's quite good on a character that doesn't necessarily have an invulnerable save, because then they have that secondary save. On a vehement is really good on a character that's going to be doing 2 damage, basically with their melee attacks. Getting that additional 2 in Assault Doctrine, often you'll see it on a captain or even a chaplain, is a really good take. Add up to the codex, whilst it is a captain only, it makes sense. Being able to go into Tactical Doctrine will key off a few things that we get into in a second. Can be really good if your unit already doesn't have the ability to fall back, shoot, and charge. So you can basically put them into that for the entire game and say, if I'm not in Devastator, or even if you are, you can go, no, I want this unit to stay in tactical. I actually think it's quite good on a combat unit in particular. And then Fire Discipline has actually seen a change. So it used to be critical hits on 5s, whereas now it's been changed to re-rolling advance rolls. So no more crits on 5s with sustained hits 1 with Fire Discipline.
Yeah, it's taken a bit of a hit, but I don't think you'll see it used near as much as it used to.
Yes,
There's nearly an auto take beforehand, but
I think it depends on the unit you're putting it with, and I think there's some other armies out there that make better use of that kind of ability if you're not wanting to play as flexible as what the Gladius does. So let's jump into talking about some of the stratagems. So the first stratagem is going to be common to all Space Marine detachments. It's not just going to be the 5 that we're looking at. It's going to be any of the other codexes or index detachments. That is Armor Contempt. It's 1 command point during a opponent's shooting or fight phase. When they target an Adeptus Astartes unit, reduce the AP of incoming attacks by 1 until the attacking unit has finished making its attacks. Important thing to mention here, this recently did get changed. It used to be until the end of the phase, all incoming attacks were reduced by 1 on their AP. Now it is just for that unit's activation. So it means you've got to pick and choose when you use Armor Contempt.
Yeah, copped a bit of a hit, but it will still definitely come in handy.
Yeah, for sure.
Second stratagem there, only in death does duty end. 2 CP. During either player's fight phase, when a model is destroyed in the selected Adeptus Astartes unit, don't remove it from play. Any destroyed models get to fight after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks and then are removed from play. This one definitely still pretty powerful. You can go into combat, even if they're doing the fights first, you can pop this and still make sure that you're going to get your attacks back.
Yeah, it's really solid when you have multiple charges and you want to ensure the efficiency of all of them. You can go, cool, maybe you've got a captain in the unit, you can reduce that by 1 CP, so it's only costing you the 1 CP, and then you get that fight on death with, say, that Blade Guard unit that's got the captain, and they can go, cool, I can fight with maybe a Redempted Dreadnought or something else that needs to fight first to ensure that they get their damage in before they get killed or something, and then cool, if any of the Blade Guard go down, they get to fight back straight away. Once that unit's finished, they still get to fight, and then I can fight with the Blade Guard and the captain and finish that unit off, hopefully. Which is really, it's quite a good stratagem. Not many armies in the game have a fight on death stratagem within their detachments. I think it's maybe 1 detachment per faction, if they're lucky, has this kind of stratagem. So it's really good to be able to make use of if you do have it available to you.
Yeah. Yep.
Next up, we've got Honor the Chapter. 1 command point. During either player's fight phase, 1 Adeptus Astartes unit gets the Lance ability on their melee weapons, and until the end of the phase, if the unit is under the effects of Assault Doctrine as well, melee weapons gain additional AP -1. So, this is
big. +1 to wound, +1 AP is just money for GM for 1 CP. Like you said before, with the captain, if that's 0 CP, you're laughing.
100%. The reason why it's important though, and I think some people may miss the synergy with this, and this is getting a little bit more advanced here than what we would normally do, typically do for the new guy, is that you can heroically intervene and do Honor the Chapter on that unit. You count as having made a charge, even though you do not get the benefit of fights first, you can still get the benefit of Lance.
Still pop it, yeah. It's
so
amazing.
That's a really, it's really solid. I do like this on Blade Guard veterans personally. Another Blade Guard veteran unit. They're strength 5 already. You give them Lance, put them to AP -3 with damage to weapons. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Yeah, very spicy. and a bunch of attacks.
Yes.
The next strat, adaptive strategy, the one we talked about earlier. One command point. During your command phase, one Adeptus Astartes unit can be put into either devastated, tactical, or assault doctrine until the end of the start of your next command phase, even if you have already selected that combat doctrine this battle. So very good for putting a unit back into the doctrine that you need it to be in.
Yep. You can also, so there was an FAQ from Games Workshop from the Warhammer World Championships that clarified that you can use this stratagem even if you do not have a doctrine active for your army. So you can actually go in a turn where you don't have a doctrine active, you can put a unit you might want to advance and shoot into that doctrine. You know, of course, if it's got assault weapons, then there's no benefit to that, right? In Devastator Doctrine, unless it's the fire discipline unit, and then you may want the reroll the advance. But you know, those kind of things are some things you can think about with adaptive strategy. You can use it for free with a captain again as well if you really want to. So there's some good synergy with this one for sure. You can definitely use it where you want to in your command phase.
Yep, definitely.
Then we come to another one of my personal favorites is Storm of Fire, 1 CP. During your shooting phase, one Adeptus Astartes unit's ranged weapons get the Ignores cover ability until the end of the phase. If the unit is under the effects of Devastator Doctrine, ranged weapons get an additional -1 AP as well. So this is really good. If you have high...
Ignores cover, and you're basically adding 2 AP if you're in Dev Doctrine, essentially. Because what doesn't have cover these days by some little bit of a building or touching something, it's good.
Yeah, this is, I've seen it used in a few different places. It's often used in combination with Fire Discipline, so you're maximizing the number of shots that you're getting this ability off on. Hellblasters seem to be a pretty common unit this is picked on. I personally have used this with Sternguard. I've also seen Aggressors as another unit that you can kind of use this stratagem with to help them out. They don't have any AP on their guns, so using this during Devastator Doctrine can really help their output.
Yeah, well, with the Sustained 1 and AP 1, it's great. Over to... Is this the last one? Yeah, it is the last. So Squad Tactics, 1 CP. During your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit finishes a normal move, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches of an Adeptus Astartes infantry or mounted unit, the unit can then make a normal move of up to D6 inches. That unit is under the effect of the Tactical Doctrine. They can move up to 6 inches instead. The selected unit cannot be within engagement range of any enemy units, which is a pretty integral part of that. But again, another really good one.
This is commonly referred to as a reactive move, basically.
Yeah.
And so what's really good about it is that, yes, you could do it for D6 inches when you're not during in tactical. Where you can really make this stratagem pay dividends for you is when you select the captain's unit that's got Adept to the Codex with Tactical Doctrine active and just give that unit an additional 6-inch move.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Also, I mean, personally, I use it a lot where a very shooty unit moves within 9 of one of your units that's going to be shot at, and you move back inside the terrain feature or even behind the terrain feature and it catches quite a few people out. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's definitely a good stratagem. So I think across the entire suite of stratagems, you've got a lot of utility. You've got a fight on death strat, a reactive move, 2 damage increasing strats, 1 flexibility strat in the Doctrine. You can put a unit into a Doctrine, and then Armor Contempt for a little bit of defense. I think it's a really good stratagem suite to have available. So we're going to look at 1,000-point army list for the Gladius Task Force. Now, typically, when we do these lists, they're going to be very themed towards the detachment and what you want to run, but also not necessarily fully competitive, but they're going to have a little bit of competitiveness in them. They're going to have some popular units in them, and they're going to be quite well playable on the table. Like, you'll be able to see what units will go together and what roles they'll have and such as well. So, for the Gladius Task Force 1,000-point list, we've got a Gravis Captain, who's got Fire Discipline. He's your Warlord, basically. You've got 5 Intercessors, 6 Aggressors. Now, the Captain's going to go with the Aggressors. You've got 3 Blade Guard Veterans, 5 Hellblasters, and a Redemptor Dreadnought, with 2 units of 5 scouts. Total is 995 points. It's a really well-rounded list. You've got some solid combat in there in the aggressors and the Blade Guard veterans. The Redemptor Dreadnought is good at both shooting and combat. You've got some solid shooting with the Hellblasters. The aggressors can do some solid anti-infantry shooting. The intercessors, with their new ability, being able to increase the amount of the attacks against a single target, they can put out some decent shots now, but also they're really good at holding objectives and being able to hold the backfield. Scouts being able to do your secondaries and stuff. They can infiltrate, scout. They can also be picked up at the end of your opponent's turn, typically what we call an uppy downy in the competitive scene. It's where you pick up a unit at the end of your opponent's turn and they come back onto the table during your next turn to do secondaries and stuff and be a bit more of a utility unit as well. So I quite like this list as a nice 1,000-point list. You've got a number of units you can make use of without also having to manage a lot of different units on the table.
Yeah, definitely. It's worth mentioning your intercessors with the sticky objectives as well, which are great for moving off an objective, holding it without having to be on it, and then being used as a utility piece elsewhere as well. Now, the next thing we're just going to look at is just potential ways that you can pick this up. In a not the most cheapest fashion, but probably the easiest, most cost-effective way that you can do it by getting brand new online. So you could get the Dark Angels Combat Patrol box, which will give you a Gravis Captain, 10 Intercessors, 3 Blade Guard Veterans, and 5 Hellblasters, which is really good value for what the box is. You could get for about $212 online, I believe it is. And I think they retail at $268 on GW. That's the way we've done that.
Yeah, so the price that isn't in the brackets is from Games Workshop Direct, and the price in the brackets is from third-party retailers online. The cheapest that I could find was just over 20% off, which is the price in the brackets. Now, for context, for everyone who watches outside of Australia, all of these prices are in Australian dollars as well.
And typically, your local game store will run at that about 15% below GW as well. So it's worth mentioning that. You can pick up your two lots of 3 aggressors for $77 or $97. You can pick up a Redemptor Dreadnought for just under $100, so $99 there, and you can get the 10 scouts in the single block for $107 or $135 GW. So total cost about $570 for 1,000 points online, which, like we said, you could probably pick up a little bit cheaper by going online and using buy, swap, sell places, but that's just to give you a rough idea of where the 1,000 points would sit you at.
Yeah, and funnily enough, it's actually just over 1,000 points. It comes in at around 1,075 because you've got 10 intercessors. We're only using 5 in the list. So if you wanted to swap out, say some of the units you've got in there, say you don't particularly like the Blade Guard, then you could actually throw in 5 more intercessors as well to have some more objective play power as well. In the list, they're a relatively simple swap, 90 points for the Blade Guard, 80 points for the next unit of intercessors. So you're going to be sitting at 985 in terms of points in the list, but it does give you a unit that you can swap in if you really want it as well. That's you've got some flexibility there with what you can play with, which is really good. And the combat patrols are a really great starting point because you're already getting good value for money from what those box sets are.
Yep. And if you're a fan of chopping and magnetizing and that sort of thing, your intercessors are really universal. I mean, you can add the chainswords and pistols to make them assault intercessors. You can add the jump packs to make them jump pack assault intercessors. There's a lot of things you can do there, so really good value.
Yeah, for sure. So overall, Jake, what are your thoughts on the Gladius now that we've gone through it?
Gladius is good. Gladius has always been good, I think. Personally, like I said at the start, it's your all-rounder toolbox. It's good for a lot of things, especially if you're going vanilla Marines now with the changes to Oak, giving the +1 to wound as well is massive. I think you'll see probably Ultramarines will be used a lot in Gladius, but it can definitely pick up a lot of synergies with a lot of other armies.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree. I think I've been playing Gladius since the Marine Codex came out. I found it's always been fun. It's always been flexible. You can always play various units that you want to run in it, and they will do something. Like if you put some combat units in, you can have them do some really solid work. Advance and charge is really nice. You know, then on top of that, you could have, you know, some more shooting, lean more in that shooting, which is my typical playstyle. I'll tend to lean more into the shooting side of Gladius with a few combat units to kind of give me some counter attack ability, with maybe a Redemptor Dreadnought or two in there. But at the same time, you know, you can lean the other way as well. So, and I think that overall, it's a great starting point for Space Marines if you are wanting to start collecting a Space Marine army list.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gladius is the beginner's choice, personally.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely agree personally. And that's actually going to be it for our look at the Gladius Task Force, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. For our first installment in our For the New Guy series here on the ATWN, looking at all the most popular detachments for the various codexes that are out for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. Now, of course, it's been great to have Jake to chat through with these, and he'll definitely be joining us for the next couple of videos as we talk through the different Space Marine detachments, which is going to be great. Now, if you do want to make sure that you are catching those videos, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you're notified as to when those videos are released. If you have any comments you want to share with us about our For the New Guy videos, looking at the detachments, or any thoughts you want to add to what we've shared, or any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit it with a like as well and share it with your friends. And if you want to catch us live throughout the week when we do hobbying sessions, maybe tournament previews and tournament coverage, feel free to head over to Twitch and follow us at the Australis TWN Twitch channel, where we do live hobbying sessions and tournament previews and coverage over there every week with myself and some of our team members as well. And you can catch all the information that's going on in the 40K space, whether that's here in Australia or globally in the scene as well. And also a massive shout out to all of our financial supporters, whether you're here on YouTube, whether you're over on Twitch, or you are supporting us via Ko-Fi as well. Your financial contributions really allow us to continue to do the work that we have been doing for the past 2 years now for the ATWN, really showcasing the Australian scene. And we wouldn't be able to do as much as we currently do if it wasn't for your financial support. So we really appreciate you guys. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's video, and we hope to catch you in the next one.